The truth occurs. The truth occurs.
Hi everyone. Well, there's been a lot of talk recently on YouTube and internet in general about not only genetically modified animals, but animals that are actually hybridized with humans and also cloned. Well, they've been crossing animals with each other for a while. You may remember the mouse pig that was supposed to help global warming because it has poop that's not so bad for the environment. Never mind what else it does to the environment. So can they cross animals and humans? Well, it turns out they can. What do you get when you do that? Maybe something like this, the Montauk monster. Now, obviously I find this very disturbing. So I've been looking into this, and here's one of the articles I found on it. This is from InfoWars, Secret Cloning Project Exposed, Help Us Warn the World. And he's got a couple videos on this. So let's look at one of the articles that's mentioned in the second video here. Human rabbit clone announced and no noses twitch. This is from 2003. US trained scientists, of note they were from the US, or trained there, in China created 400 hybridized embryos by injecting human DNA into the eggs of New Zealand rabbits. A quarter of them survived for several days. Now, they were not implanted into a mammal for incubation. They were just embryos, and only 25% of them survived for several days. That doesn't really surprise me because whenever I read about this kind of stuff, even just regular GMO animal technology, a lot of times they don't survive very well. So why would they want to cross humans with rabbits? They did it in the hope of working miracles like getting Christopher Reeve to walk again. Oh yeah, I guess he was still alive back then because now it would be a little late for that. Curing juvenile diabetes or reversing Parkinson's disease. Well, that's a bit strange they would say getting Christopher Reeve to walk. You know why? Because they already have the technology for that using stem cells from adult humans. You can get those stem cells from your own nose. So they have the technology. And interestingly enough, they had done some experiments with this in the US and actually got several people with spinal cord injuries to walk again, and then they stopped all funding. Because it's one of those things, you don't really want people to get well. It's good to drag it out. You make more money that way. Human-animal hybrids emerging market for organs, babies, pharma. Sure enough, 150 human-animal hybrids grown in UK labs. Embryos have been produced secretively for the past 3 years. Well, yes, they had actually been crossing human genetic material with animal genetic material, creating embryos, but they would only keep them alive for 14 days. But that doesn't make it okay in my books. Why would they do this? Again, to cure incurable diseases. Like what? Cancer? There's already a cure. There are many cures. It's just a big lie. My husband came and said to me that he heard that now they're taking human embryos, genetically modifying them so that a cow will not reject it, and then putting the embryos inside the cows for incubation so that the humans can then be born from a cow, which would mean that they have no rights. But is this true? Scientists announced birth of cows cloned in new way. Really, all they're doing is they had found an improved cloning technology, because the problem with the old one was that the clone would die very quickly. And what they're saying here is that they're going to use animals that have been modified to create like a, what do they call it? Farming, P-H-A-R-M-A, P-H-A-R-M-I-N-G, farming, I guess, like farming. And so they can use these animals for medical products. Again, that's silly, and dangerous, because all the cures are already available to us, so why would we have to do this? Scientists create animals that are part human. See the sheep? Yeah, they still look like sheep, but they're part human. What they did was they took human cells and injected them into the brain of a sheep, probably stem cells. Or they could genetically modify an animal so that one of its organs would be more like a human organ, so that then they could use the animals as sort of living organ banks for humans in need of organs. For example, if you're diabetic and your kidneys fail, you could get a kidney that came from a sheep that had been modified so your body wouldn't reject it, which is a step above taking it from a Falun Gong practitioner in China, but it's still, you know, crazy and unnecessary because, like I said, most of these diseases can be cured. I mean, diabetes, again, is a good example. Type 2 diabetes, anyway, can be cured with anabolic fasting and things like that. In fact, I know someone who cured his diabetes, so we don't really need sheep organs. Now, about the cloning aspect of this, when it comes to the animals, see, what they do is they'll modify an animal, and once they get a good one, then they'll clone it, because it's not easy to modify it genetically so it's just right. And then they'll just make multiple copies of the original experimental animal. Somehow I think that these things are all getting mixed up together, and it's coming out that they are hybridizing animals with humans and then cloning the humans. I really haven't found any evidence of that. I find them, you know, inserting animals with certain human genes to modify their organs. They're doing experiments where they're taking animals, like I showed you, and inserting some human genes into them so that they'll have more human-like organs. But does that make them human? I don't think that it makes them any more human than it makes the GMO tomato a fish because it has fish genes in it. But that doesn't make it right either. And of course, if you were talking about putting human brain cells into a monkey's brain, well, you've gone way past crossing the line. Frankenscience, animal-human hybrids, GMO animals, cloned. Every time that they create a genetically modified animal or any kind of crop, you know, plants, it just turns out that this creates a lot of problems. It has a very, very bad history. So I'd say, you know, stop while you're ahead. I mean, I can understand they always want to, you know, push the bounds of science, but I think for now they're not going to be, you know, cloning humans, you know, for organs or anything like that, I think. But you know, hopefully they'll stay out of this area of research, but I don't know. This is the kind of thing the New World Order likes to do. They just like to mess everything up, basically. That's what it adds up to. But for now, I don't really think that they're, you know, creating humans and incubating them in cows, genetically modified so the cow won't reject it, so they can then be born and have no rights. That I haven't seen. If you've seen it, let me know. So that's it. The news is bad, but I guess it could be worse. Well, thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.